Frank Gardner, our security correspondent, thanks for the details on that story that's emerged in, the last hour or so. That brings us to the end of the programme. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you at the same time tomorrow.
Most people aren't sleeping. They can't sleep. They're sleeping with their phones, or they're doing what we call doom scrolling, seeing what the bad news is.
They're filling the bottles and filling the crates. There is a real sense of feeling that these weapons could soon be needed here.
It's an air of desperation. There are thousands of people along this platform. Can any train possibly take the number of people who are here?
The Russian invasion of Ukraine on BBC News.
Hello and welcome to Focus on Africa. I am Peter Okwoche. Our top stories. The mayor of Mariupol warns of a humanitarian catastrophe in his city, saying the Russians are playing with us. Concerns grow over South Sudan's fragile peace deal after special forces reportedly surrounded and then left First Vice President Riek Machar's residence over the weekend. Also on the program, the slap that was heard around the world. US actor Will Smith hits Chris Rock live on stage at the Oscars ceremony. We hear what the continent makes of it. And in sports with Mimi, it's nearly crunch time as we build up to the second leg of the Africa World Cup playoffs. And from drivers to the marshals and security guards, Kenya's first all-female rally took place over the weekend. We'll tell you who won, but here's a clue. It wasn't a man. Thanks for joining us here on Focus on Africa from BBC World News. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's prepared to discuss a formal neutral status for his country as part of talks to end the war with Russia. But he insisted any proposal would need to be put to the Ukrainian people in a referendum and the outcome guaranteed by third parties. Meanwhile, Ukraine says it will not open its humanitarian evacuation corridors today because of what it calls provocation from Russian forces. In the words of the mayor of Mariupol, Russia is playing with us. Our correspondent Anna Foster has this report. South Sudanese special forces have withdrawn from First Vice President Riek Machar's residence in the capital, Juba. The troops reportedly surrounded the building on Saturday after the former rebel leader rejected President Salva Kiir's directive on the formation of a national army. That was a key part of a fragile peace deal. Mr. Machar accused President Kiir of failing to share out positions in the army and police equally, as stipulated in the 2018 peace agreement. There have been clashes in recent days between forces loyal to the two men, leading to fears that South Sudan is sliding back into full civil war, a concern echoed by the United Nations last week. I'm now joined by the BBC's Emmanuel Igunza from Nairobi. Emmanuel, just tell us what the latest is, what the latest problem is between these two men. Okay, Emmanuel Igunza, monitoring things there from Nairobi. Thank you very much for your insight into that story. Thank you. Let's take a quick look now at other stories making the headlines across Africa and the rest of the world. In Ghana, it's no longer a mandatory requirement to wear face masks in public. President Akufo-Addo scrapped the rule, citing a sustained drop in COVID infections in Ghana and neighboring countries. He also announced that fully vaccinated travelers will now be allowed to enter without needing to show a negative PCR test. Hundreds of Congolese have fled into Uganda following rebel attacks on their homes. Officials in North Kivu said M23 fighters stormed Chanzu and Runyoni villages. A Congolese army base was reportedly attacked. Eyewitnesses say there's been fierce fighting between the rebels and government troops. The M23, which is mainly made up of ethnic Tutsis, used to be a major fighting force in eastern DRC, seizing the regional capital Goma in 2012. A summit bringing together Israel and 4 Arab countries is taking place in the Negev desert. The meetings are expected to focus on the revival of the Iran nuclear deal and the war in Ukraine. Foreign ministers from Egypt, the UAE, Morocco and Bahrain have traveled to Israel for the event. US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is also taking part in the discussions. Zimbabwe's opposition party, Citizens Coalition for Change, which broke away from the main opposition, has won a majority of the seats in Saturday's by-elections. 28 parliamentary and over 100 council vacancies were triggered by a split and a series of expulsions from the Movement for Democratic Change party. The MDC failed to win any of the seats. The BBC's Shengai Nyoka reports from Harare. Still to come here on Focus on Africa, Mimi will be here with all the sports. With a new dawn in motorsport, the first all-female rally in sub-Saharan Africa. Welcome back to Focus on Africa. Let's change gears a bit now. And if you've heard of this story already, it's virtually impossible that you don't have an opinion on it. That's right. We're going to talk about what's become known as the slap. It's the extraordinary moment at the Oscars ceremony when US actor Will Smith hit fellow actor and comedian Chris Rock live on stage. You're watching BBC Focus on Africa. It's now time for some sports. Mimi's got all the latest gist.
We're building up for tomorrow, Peter. It's a big week for the Africa World Cup playoffs. The second legs take place on Tuesday with 10 teams trying to make one of the 5 spots to Qatar later this year. One of those ties will be a West African heavyweight matchup between Nigeria and Ghana. In the first leg over the weekend, they played a goalless draw in Kumasi, but now the Black Stars have arrived in Abuja ahead of the decider. African sports journalist Oluwashina Okeleji is in the capital and looks ahead for us. I love that, Peter, making history there. But of course, tomorrow as well, teams can make more of their own history in the World Cup qualifiers. Do you have any big predictions for the big heavyweights?
I lost all my predictions last week. I won't go into it this week at all.
You weren't good at them then?
No, I just want Nigeria to win. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Now, just before we go here on Focus on Africa, some breaking news in the last hour. The investigative website Bellingcat and the Wall Street Journal are reporting that the Chelsea owner, Roman Abramovich, has been a victim of a suspected poisoning. It says that he and Ukrainian peace negotiators suffered symptoms including sore eyes and skin peeling after attending a meeting in Kyiv. A spokesperson for Abramovich has told the BBC that he suffered the symptoms at peace talks earlier this month and that he is much better now. Stay here on BBC World TV for all the details of that story as we get them. But for now, that's it from Focus on Africa, from me and the rest of the team. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.